We've lost as many home tests under him as we lost, under three previous coaches combined. तुम पहले पिच बना रहे हो और फिर प्लेयर्स को बोल रहे हो कि अब तुम उस पर अडेप्ट करो. So this is not home advantage.
हमने अपने टैलेंट को ही ऐसा बनाया so that they can do well in cricket that's played outside India, while at the same time we want to create spin friendly surfaces to make it a lot more difficult for international teams.
I'm very happy that the difference between the two teams ended up being Temba Bavuma, because it's very easy to just make fun of that guy, but he is proving to be one hell of a cricketer.
गंभीर भाई साहब तो हर बार क्रांतिकारी बन जाते हैं whenever press conferences like these happen कि India wins, India loses. Seeing India lose the second test match, sure there'll be short term pain, but I think that would potentially really push Gambhir to the brink of being sacked, at least from this format.
Win the Ashes, because that'll be the biggest ever thing in the baseball era. This is the crescendo. It's all building up to this. I mean, honestly, knowing Som for the longest time I know him, he doesn't like English cricket. It's true.
ऐसा कुछ नहीं है.
Just I love how Avnish just throws me under the bus, just ऐसे ही धक्का मार के खुद ही बस पे चढ़ के चला भी देता है वैसे ही.
कैसा सवाल है ये?
One transfer that you want to see happen.
शो में मत डालना भाई.
Right, welcome back to yet another episode of Bat Ball and Betak. And what a weekend it's been of cricket, twists and turns on and off the pitch. And we can't wait to kind of pick the mind about it with the two guys that I normally talk cricket with. I was going to kind of call them something else, but it's been a long day. It's been a long weekend. My name is Abdi Sheikh. They have Somesh Agarwal and Akshay Kumar Swami with me. Akshay always going for the black. But Somesh today has got some fashion sense from Amsterdam, which I'm definitely keen to pick his mind upon. So, what's going on? Call us out and all of that. You seem like you're already ready for the auction in a month's time in Abu Dhabi.
भाई कुछ नहीं है, ठंड आ गई है. The temperature is below 10, so I have to just wear layers now. So that there's no fashion sense. This is just survival mode.
I'm trying to kind of keep you calm because I know you're livid with Gambhir with after this particular shenanigans. But Akshay, I'll come to you first. How's your weekend been? Plenty of IPL chatter, which we'll tuck into later. But anything which caught your eye this weekend, bud?
Yeah, exactly. Like you mentioned, plenty of IPL chatter, a lot of rumors, a lot of discussion. So I was just trying to go through them, dissect them, understand why certain teams went in the direction they did. So for me, actually, it was a lot more IPL focused than, say, Somesh, who would have been watching the test ball in, ball out. Wasn't the case with me for various reasons, least of which being IPL, of course. But yeah, still lots to talk about, and I'm still reeling over the result. And the smile in me, the smile on my face probably indicates which way I'm leaning when it comes to the test series. So yeah, let's have at it.
We're all going to laugh and shame. Sometimes they tell you in life you've got to learn to laugh at yourself. And we as Indian cricket fans have absolutely had a laugh in the afternoon's play today. We'll get into that. Before we go further, please like this video and, of course, comment and tell us what you guys want to talk about building up to the auction, because we're going to give you a lowdown whether you like it or not in some way or the other. And with the Ashes not around in the corner as well, that is in store as well. But so, first of all, to you here, how the hell do you pick the bones about that first test defeat that India suffered in the series, which is just a 2-match series, unfortunately, against the world test champion South Africa? Was it just a reality check for this Gautam Gambhir team-led India?
This is not a reality check anymore. We've lost as many home tests under him as we lost, under three previous coaches combined. So we reality check तो बहुत दूर किया था. I'm not livid, honestly speaking, because I'm glad for the South African team. The amount of heartbreak that we have caused them, it's about time. They return the favor, and they are the world test champions, right? And if I only look at the game, the better team won. And I'm very happy that the difference between the two teams ended up being Temba Bavuma, because it's very easy to just make fun of that guy, but he is proving to be one hell of a cricketer. And I couldn't be happy for him. As far as the pitch is concerned, it's the press conference was a lost cause. Literally, if you just come out and say that this is what we wanted and we want our boys or players to see, one thing he said that ऊपर से नीचे तक टीम उठा के देख लीजिए, this team is inexperienced. So now I was looking at कि भाई कौन से inexperience की बात हो रही है. KL Rahul has been playing for India since 2014. Jaiswal has played 27 tests for India by now. Sundar became India player in 2018 and he's already been part of victories like Gaba and Oval. So ठीक है, नीचे आते हैं. Gill, captain 40 tests. Pant, playing test cricket since 2018. जडेजा अक्सर, मैं क्या बोलूं मतलब उनके बारे में कि वो कब से खेल रहे हैं. नाउ यू टेल मी वेयर इज द इनएक्सपीरियंस इन द टीम. ए. बी, if I mean, see, what do you want to achieve by playing on such surfaces? That is my biggest issue here. Because I understand that certain people come from this school of thought that भाई ये भी एक तरीके की skill है and this is also cricket. Okay, agreed. Everything is a skill. See, if you reduce cricket to a game of only three balls, that whoever score more runs in three balls, that is also skill. So someone with vested interest in that will come up and say कि भाई ये भी तो एक format हो ही सकता है. So every you dissect cricket in infinite ways, everything will require certain level of skills. But what are you trying to achieve here? Only three teams in the entire world who are actually planning or have the resources to make test cricket into something which survives. With products like this, with tests that don't you last 3 days, what are you doing? You are destroying your home season. B, you're asking your players to develop skills which are irrelevant and useless because they are not going to get such surfaces anywhere in the globe. And these skills, even if they develop skills to play on such wickets, these skills are not going to be useful in T20s and ODIs anyway. So, I mean, why? These are the best players in the country. तो उसमें भी तुम उनको टेस्ट कर रहे हो कि भाई इनको भी कैसे हम परेशान कर सकते हैं. व्हाट आर यू डूइंग एंड व्हाई आर यू डूइंग दैट? These guys are winning tests in Australia, England, South Africa on true wickets. Might as well give it to them. But don't pose your insecurity on the next generation. They are not insecure. I mean, finally the foundation is led by the previous generation, but I think this team is good enough to beat the Sena countries in all on all surfaces. So might as well just prepare true wickets. Let it be a game of skill versus skill, right? Here this game was decided in the first 10 overs of how South Africa batted. Actually it reminded me of Sehwag's innings against Pakistan in the 2011 World Cup कि उसने शुरू में इतना डिफरेंस क्रिएट कर दिया था कि that difference was never overcome. Neither of the teams were able to overcome that difference. And this is the same thing that happened. Because look at the scoring rate of those first 10 overs, and after that, no player was ever in once the South Africa started losing wickets in the first innings. So, I mean, I just rest my case. Yeah. This is a abomination of a pitch, disgrace to India's home season, absolute disgrace for the quality of two teams. I don't know whose ego is, I mean, is resulting in such wickets, but this should stop.
Akshay, come in here. Hand on heart, did you ever think India going to botch a chase of 124, bro? Because in our lifetime, I don't know if you were born post 1997 Jamaica, and I don't want to give your age away by then, because that's the only time India failed to chase 120 or whatever. But 124, fine, Gill is out with an spasm. You're playing six left-handers for the first time in Indian Test history. You think you'd probably get over 124? How confident were you as an Indian fan watching that?
Yeah, in all fairness, I thought it was a done deal. Like you said, 124 is not too much. I don't think India have ever lost at home in the last 20 odd years in this millennium, chasing under 150. So it was a bit bizarre. The only time that actually happened in India was when India defended 107 themselves way back in 2004 in Mumbai. We all remember that test, of course, Murli Karthik doing this. And of course, that is a vivid
बी
memory.
ऑल में तू काउंट नहीं होता इसमें. तू किस मतलब were you born
छह
then?
साल छह साल का था मैं वो मतलब हाइलाइट्स देख के याद है ऑफ कोर्स आई डोंट रिमेम्बर वाचिंग इट लाइव बट अगेन आई कंप्लीटली एग्री विद सोमेश ऑन द स्किल बिट बट वेयर आई आल्सो sort of go ahead and say is right now the kind of players we have, the kind of talent pool we've developed, they're actually a lot more competent in truer surfaces and surfaces that have pace and bounce than spin friendly than spin friendly conditions. Simply put, we have to go back to the last decade and how things function then to understand why this is happening. We all remember after the whole 0-8 debacle in 2011, there was a conscious effort made to improve the conditions, to improve the pitches on offer in Ranji Trophy so that the domestic players became a lot more adept at playing pace bowling, so that our pacers became a lot more adept at exploiting these conditions, which is sort of trickled down even now. When you look at Ranji Trophy and the kind of surfaces you see, say in Lali, of course, it's sort of like a fabled ground, in terms of how it swings and what sort of a surface that Haryana usually offers. But what's actually happened is the domestic players, especially the ones that have risen up the ranks in the last 4, 5, 6 years, they've played in conditions that are a lot more truer than the previous generation, which means they are a lot more adept at playing, say, in Australia or England than they are at home. Which is why I do agree that surfaces like these, I don't think it's bad, but we don't have the players to actually make use of these conditions. Like, people can talk about the lack of a solid defense and everything, but that's also stemming from the fact that we ourselves actively look to create talent that could do well in international cricket. So it's sort of a dichotomy in that हमने अपने talent को ही ऐसा बनाया so that they can do well in cricket that's played outside India, while at the same time we want to create spin friendly surfaces to make it a lot more difficult for international teams. The reason why pace friendly surfaces actually work for other teams is because their players grow up playing in these conditions, which is why they are good at exploiting home conditions. That's not the case anymore. Either we go back to our roots and go back to having a lot more spin friendly surfaces in Ranji Trophy, in Dulip Trophy, so that our players become better at it, and then have such surfaces on offer. Right now, we have the worst of both worlds. We're not even letting our players get used to such conditions, and we're also offering such conditions at international cricket and expecting our players to do well, because historically India has always been a spin friendly nation. Array, South Asia, okay, Asian subcontinent, of course, these players are better at playing spin. They're just trying to play to those stereotypes, but boss, gone are those days. So that's where it's very weird, and we are stuck in this sort of in between state where maybe the coach, who himself, by the way, has gone on record way back in 2012, after that 0-8 debacle itself, that what, in सबको India आने देते हैं and we'll offer spin friendly conditions and see how these players suffer. Cut to 8 months later in 2012, we all know what happened when England came to India and we offered spin friendly conditions. And again, we've seen this time and time again. This is not the first time this is happening. Like, users have to look at social media. Like, apologies for this rant. I'm sorry. Like, I'm all for not being an armchair critic. I'm all for not being a keyboard warrior and simply saying, "Boss, kya kare?" I'm not an international cricketer. I don't know what it takes to be one. But these are basics. This is cricket tactics 101. You understand what conditions best suit your players. You don't first create conditions and then expect your players to just adapt. It's very easy for Gambhir to go on record and say, you know what, our players didn't adapt well. There's a reason why they didn't adapt well. It's not so easy, boss.
You guys were debating about Sai Sudarshan being left out, right? Sure, he didn't kind of really take his chance against West Indies, got the 80 odd. You're playing a pitch which is demons on it. Why four spinners? Markram was looking like Peacock Shrin's home.
Why? But there were no demons in the wicket. क्या बात कर रहा है? No demons. Few demons भी नहीं. No demons in the wicket.
I mean, you texted in the WhatsApp group saying they were set up for failure. There was not even an iota of shot selection being into the conversation, right? It was just honestly, I don't know, just a low, slow wicket which exposed them badly.
यार देखो, बहुत सारी चीजें अक्षय, द पॉइंट दैट अक्षय मेड एंड वेरी वैलिड पॉइंट्स, you're not giving such wickets in domestic cricket. अरे domestic cricket छोड़ो, ए गेम हुए थे इसके पहले, were they given such wickets there? They were not. उसके बाद सी, इफ यू ओनली लुक एट डिसमिसल्स, यू विल सी कि भाई लॉन्ग हॉप पे आउट हो गया, पंत ओवर पिच बॉल आउट हो गया. पॉइंट वो नहीं है, आप उसके आगे पीछे देखो ना क्या हो रहा है. Look at the play that happened around that dismissal. The batters are never set. Full ball भी आती है तो they don't know कि should they pounce on it or should they, I mean, just try to defend it. So you tell me, what has England achieved under Bazball on the field? Tell me something. I mean, do they have any significant achievement to talk about during the Bazball? I don't think so. The reason I bring them up is, but still they are relevant. Still they are being spoken about. Still they are getting eyeballs. Why? Because of the quality of the cricket they are trying to play, and which is a good thing. Because I can rest assured, I mean, I can say that with absolute certainty, that for whatever limited period of time that has been around, at least it has sparked some interest around Test cricket. We speak about it. And why they have done it? Because all of us keep talking about it. Ki bhai, तीन formats, it's very difficult to adapt to different formats. So let's try to merge them so as much as possible. And we, on the other hand, are asking our players to do something which is just out of this world. Do you think you can get new fans to the format with wickets like this? I don't think so.
So do you see any similarities between this test the first one against South Africa and Kolkata, compared to the 3-0 whitewash we suffered against New Zealand at home. I mean, similar things, pitch being absolutely wonky, batters being exposed. Are India going to learn, or do you think they need another kick up the backside?
Yeah, batters being exposed is it's so harsh. These guys just won I mean, they didn't win the series, but 2-0 was an excellent series to watch. And batters did their bit on true wickets. So they are
Hmm.
not getting exposed. India are doing pretty well with majority of these batters in across formats, and they've done well in Test cricket as well with these batters across conditions and across teams. We were able to beat Australia at Goa with majority of the players who were there in this 11. So
So,
I mean, see, it's just, I mean, what Akshay said is very relevant कि भाई तुम पहले पिच बना रहे हो और फिर प्लेयर्स को बोल रहे हो कि अब तुम इस पर अडेप्ट करो. सो दिस इज नॉट होम एडवांटेज. दिस इज जस्ट कि भाई एक एक वो है कि एक माइंडसेट है कि मुझे यही पिच देनी है एज अ कोच. This is what we want and I want my team to adapt, which is I just don't understand कि इसको मैं बोलूं क्या. ये एरोगेंस है, ये क्या है? और अगर ये कलेक्टिव डिसीजन है सबका, तो फिर तो भाई मतलब but then there is something seriously wrong. That if everyone is on board, including Gill, including the selectors, including other people who have some has a sort of accountability on the team performance, everyone is on board कि नहीं, let's keep making turning tracks no matter how much they backfire on us, then there is some different game at play here.
Akshay, the thing is, I mean, if you have a team which has Sundar, Akshar, Kuldeep, and Jadeja, right? Essentially, you can't be outspun by, I mean, no disrespect to Simon Harmer, SX legend, and all of that. Keshav Maharaj doing his bit, Markram coming in as well. Is the deficiency there? I mean, if we kind of don't want to blame it on the batters because the pitch is anyway so bad, is it the bowlers kind of being thing? Because we saw with the New Zealand series how Ashwin kind of showed his colors over there, where he was towards the twilight of his career, and Jadeja wasn't that effective. So is a question more on the bowlers now because Bumrah played this test and probably had the best attack going in this test, but what was on offer?
To some extent, once again, I'll have to sort of, put the responsibility, so to say, on the batters. It's not necessarily that, the South African bowlers, of course, they did bowl well and credit where it's due. They bowled much better than than their Indian counterparts, but that does not mean that the Indian spinners were too bad. It's just that the South African batters showed a lot more application. Temba Bavuma has shown this time and time again. In all fairness, I did like the idea of Washi at three, but it came at a certain cost. It came at the cost of Sai Sudarshan having had to miss out for no fault of his. So that's where we need to understand this is a zero sum game. Once again, for every player that comes into the 11, there are at least two, if not more, players who have to miss out. And for those missing out, there needs to be enough reason. The burden of proof is on someone coming in to say that, you know what, I'm good enough to be at number three. Sai Sudarshan, as the incumbent, did not have to do anything to prove that I need to stay and hold on to my position. Washington Sundar had to have done enough during his A games or anything to show that, you know what, I'll replace Sai, and I don't think he's done that yet. And that's where it's very bizarre. If you had decided that Washi was going to play, did we need a fourth spinner? And if Akshar, Kuldeep were always going to be a part of it, then it's very muddled. It's very muddled. It's almost as muddled as my rant right now. From batting to bowling, there's so many holes that we can keep picking over here, and that's a sad reality.
So you mentioned in your tweet in that point at the top of the show where Gambhir's lost more games than the three previous coaches before him. Does he know his modus operandi in Test cricket? Because he's got the job on the behest of winning the IPL. Sure, he sat at the auction table, picked his men, won them the title. And many would say, yeah, you can get away with that in the shortest format with willy-nilly all-rounders. Do you think he's trying to exert that T20 blueprint in the Test and it's not come off as yet? Because the results are there to see.
Yeah, I mean, see, signs are there that I mean, India, any team should have like different coaches for different format. If not, at least there should be someone else to oversee the one head coach and not make him like give him the complete reins. कि भाई pitch भी तू ही देख, squad भी तू ही देख, playing
Like
11
a
भी तू ही
director
देख.
of cricket.
It's like too much power with one person. And of course, in this day and age, with every series with some or the other, you know, कुछ ऐसा हेडलाइन विद इन देम कि कभी कोई दो पुराने प्लेयर्स खेल रहे हैं जिनका जिनके साथ देखना है कि डू दे फिट वेल। T20 वर्ल्ड कप है इन 3 months टाइम। होम टेस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट है क्योंकि पिछले इस बार तुम व्हाइट वॉश होके आए हो। WTC भी है। सो every wrong decision will be put under the scanner, and it's going to have repercussions. So probably this is, see, if he is alone in making all these decisions, then probably the setup itself is not right. And if there are a bunch of people who are coming up with this decision, then the entire think tank needs to think again कि भाई ये, I mean, what are we trying to do here and what are we trying to achieve with this? I mean, यार अभी तो मतलब इस मैच के बारे में बात करना irrelevant सा लग रहा है. There are so many things. अगर तुम, if this is the pitch you wanted, if you already had four spinners, then why play the second seamer? Siraj didn't even bowl even a single over in the second innings. उसको मत कराते. Probably would have, bolstered your batting, pick an extra batter. पता तो है तुमको कि टॉस तो किसी के भरोसे है नहीं. In India are losing tosses. So I mean, it was just a. I mean, it was a lottery game at this point of time, because no one can say with absolute certainty कि भाई Indian spinners were better या South African spinners were better. No one can say that. The only certainty is कि भाई हाँ, Bavuma's defense came to the fore because he's a test specialist. How many test specialists do we have in our team? Zero.
Yeah. And that's the big question, because I cast my mind back to even 10 years, Akshay, and we look at that Virat Shastri era. You knew exactly how India would get the job done. Fair, the pitches weren't that conducive to spin. You'd still have to kind of score your 400s and kind of get Ashwin Jadeja into the game. And India got that. I still don't even know how India are going to maybe get answers in Guwahati. If they do, let's see how they do it. But final thoughts on this, because I'm pretty sure there will be more worms to appear out of the can after Guwahati, Akshay. So, what do you think India should do? Will there be any knee-jerk reactions going into that test? Because it's a short turnaround time now.
Don't know about knee-jerk reactions, but just to sort of summarize this, one thing we can now say for sure is, yeah, you know what, cricket is a game of skill, but what the last year or so has shown us is, for all the riches that we have in terms of talents, in terms of the kind of players we have, we've sort of just taken it for granted that we'll do well. It takes a lot more than just talented players or skillful players to win a game of test match cricket like this. And it's not down to tactics, it's not down to anything else. It's not so easy, and that's why I don't know if it's complacency as well to some extent, on part of the think tank, to just say that we've got some of the best players in the world, so they'll just come good. It doesn't work that way. You not only need the right players, you need to use the right players in the right manner, and then only can you expect that what the result might be in your way. You still need that element of luck. So it's there's so many complexities involved, and that's what makes this format so beautiful and so pure. Again, at the risk of overly romanticizing it, we need to understand that, like, players or just by skill alone, we cannot win games. And definitely games like these, if anything, reduce the level of skill needed to win a game. You're bringing oppositions into these games time and time again, and I for one just don't just can't make enough sense of this. Knee-jerk reactions, any changes? Again, based on how the surface is going to be, because I can't think of too many test matches in the recent past. In Guwahati, just going by how white ball cricket is, I don't want to simply make some jump to some conclusions कि क्या expectations हो सकते हैं वहाँ पे, but if it's going to be anything similar to this, wherein we anything that does not warrant multiple paces, I agree with Somesh. If your idea is to go ahead with four spinners, सिराज के बदले एक बैटर खिला लो यार, किसी को भी खिला लो, just give them some batting time. At the very least, you'll now know, okay, this batter is probably not cut out, we don't need him, and move ahead. So that is something I would look at. Or else just let go of a spinner, because usage, that's been a concern with Rohit Sharma as well. We've lost count of how many times we used to talk about how Rohit Sharma struggled, sort of using his spinners well when it came to Indian conditions, simply because Ravindra Jadeja sometimes underbowled, or when both Akshar and Jadeja played, he struggled with how to rotate and all of it. Shubman Gill will have the same concerns, and if you're going to give him four spinners, it's not going to be easy, yaar. So I don't know, like, क्या चेंजेस होंगे पता नहीं है, सर्फेसेस क्या है, बिकॉज गंभीर भाई साहब तो हर बार क्रांतिकारी बन जाते हैं प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंसेस लाइक दीज हैपन कि इंडिया विंस, इंडिया लूजेस. इट्स जस्ट पेइंग लिप सर्विस. And yeah, I don't know. I have a lot more. I just think I should say all of these rants for probably the IPL chatter or something. But yeah, it's just a bit much right now.
So, Mesh, your final thoughts?
Nothing, Your Honor. I've already said enough. I'm not expecting anything here. I mean, might as well. I mean, see, South Africa are a good team. They will retain the trophy, whatever its name is. I don't even remember the name changing is a trend.
Mandela
You
Gandhi.
don't remember कि क्या नाम रहता है चीजों का. But yeah, whatever it is, I think, yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, see, when it comes to South Africa, I'm anywhere neutral. The loss against New Zealand did hurt me. But see, I mean, whoever wins the next test, I mean, I'm not so much bothered about the result. But see, from whatever we've seen of India under this management, if they feel certain way and if they've said something out in a certain way, I expect them to double down. So I'm pretty sure that we will see a rank turner in Guwahati as well. So the only change that might happen is Siraj being replaced by another batter. If not, maybe they can go down another extreme and there will be some other spinner who replaces Siraj. So you'll have five spinners in the team.
And just one thing
Jesus.
to add from a sort of, grander scheme, from a grander scheme of things, I think as like for Indian fans are better off seeing India lose the second test match. Sure, there'll be short-term pain, but I think that would potentially really push Gambhir to the brink of being sacked, at least from this format. If they somehow manage to draw the series, I think he'll still be given an extended run. And anyway, India doesn't play a home test for a while now, so it doesn't help anyone's case. So for Indian fans, for their sake, I hope India loses so that in the long term, they are able to see some changes at least in this format.
And this is where I mean I still hope India wins because the way India operate is if they change the coach, they'll change across formats. I still see there being merit of Gambhir, the coach in white ball for the white ball team. So let's see. I mean, I don't know. I mean, all we can do is just wait and watch with some good old
I feel that should be
popcorn
the
and the drink of our
thumbnail.
choice.
Thumbnail text. I don't know करके गंभीर गिल सबका फोटो डाल दो बस. We'll just write I don't know and move on.
100%. I was thinking the same because, look, only time will tell what India will turn up and do in Guwahati, but I hope it's for the better, like Akshay said, in the longer scheme of things. Guys, let's move on because I feel there is plenty of other things we want to talk about the Bat Ball Better right now. So quickly like this video and we will get into the IPL chatter. Lots of it. I don't know where to start, boys, because like I promised all the viewers, we will be doing a full-blown video on that separately in terms of how they stand, obviously going into that auction and all of that. But Akshay, I'll start with you because obviously you're the keenest IPL fan amongst three of us, at least. Biggest takeaway from what ensued over the weekend? Was it Russell? Was it Jadeja? Was it another fascinating sub point? Talk to me.
Biggest takeaway probably, I'll just steal this line that Yasjad had brought up, during the ESPN Cricket for Chatter. Something on the lines of how IPL has turned 18 years and we can see that, the league is maturing, teams are maturing, fans are maturing. Finally, we are seeing teams move past, emotional calls, big name players just for the sake of it. They've started taking some very bold, or started making some very bold moves. I remember talking about this 2 years ago when that whole Hardik Pandya trade happened. That sort of was the first time we saw a big name player, switching sides. And I was really hoping that this now sets precedent for things in the future where players are a lot more empowered or at least feel a lot more empowered to take calls that actually suit their personal needs, be it financial or otherwise. We saw Rishabh Pant, Shreyas Iyer last year. Now we've seen Sanju Samson, Ravindra Jadeja, Andre Russell, Matisha Patirana to some extent. Like all of these now so-called names who historically would have just stayed with their side because you know what, this is a side that's actually taken care of me and everything. And now we see them, willing to enter the auction and see what the open market actually has to offer. So that's an excellent precedent, which also means the tournament now becomes a lot more open. Now it won't be that one side has that sort of control over most of the big names or anything like that. So those are very healthy signs, heartening signs. We'll get into specific names and everything in due course, but very happy with how the whole trade window played out, and I'm expecting a lot more activity to happen post the auction as well. So once again, for the uninitiated, the trade window begins after the end of the tournament. It goes on till 1 week before the auction, which is why it's now stopped yesterday on the 15th of November as we speak. And it will resume. The trading window will once once again resume post the auction till 1 month before the starting date of the IPL. So which is slated to begin in the first week, sorry, the second week of March, which means the trading window will be active till the second week of Feb. I'm expecting a few more trades to happen.
I mean, I'm glad you mentioned the word trade because that was pretty much my next point. The fact that 3 years ago, guys, we were talking about this in the cricket.com office. The fact that releases and retentions happen, but how cool would it be if trades happen? And we saw one ensue. What we spoke about it last week briefly with Samson coming to the yellowness of Chennai. So I'll get into your takeaway from this whole IPL weekend recap. I mean, what is the telling story there? Is it Andre Russell? Because he's such a fabric of that franchise. Do you think it's a game within a game for KKR? Is that your headline of the weekend?
Yeah, it's a end of an era, so to speak, because he has been a massive champion for Kolkata, and so has Jadeja been for CSK. But
Hmm.
CSK, I mean, with Jadeja, the case is different. That he's willingly going to a team that he started his career with, a team that he wanted to be traded out of into some other team, and he got banned for it. Him being a decade ahead of his time, he wanted to do this in 2010. So, I mean, yeah, lots of things to know to sort of double click on here. But Venkatesh Iyer is a surprise because the old KKR probably wouldn't have released him. But once they've released him, I mean, their purse is massive. It's the biggest purse for anyone in a mini auction. And at this point of time, I think, in my opinion, we can already guess with absolute certainty that where Cameron Green is gonna go when he enters the auction.
Not just Green, but even Maxwell there, Russell there. Some of the releases have really puzzled me. Ravi Bishnoi could end up going for a fortune in that mini auction, honestly. Nitish Dada, who we were all lauding in the WhatsApp chat, saying probably the trade off the window so far, going to Delhi Capitals. I mean, Akshay, I think if he had to kind of put himself in the auction, he would have probably got 10 crores plus, bro. Right?
Easily, because I really think KKR would have loved to have brought in Nitish Rana. I'm very surprised. Apparently, KKR did not even make a move. Like, they did not even approach RR for Nitish Rana. And that was very surprising because that's exactly the kind of player they would have loved. He would have been a much cheaper alternative to Venkatesh Iyer, would have been just as effective. Also, would have offered them a captaincy option because he's captained them in the past. So, was very surprised there. And kudos to Delhi. I think that was an excellent piece of recruitment on their part as well. Plugs that middle order hole that they had, so to say. Not necessarily a hole. The kind of options they had were a lot more unproven. Now they've gotten a proven customer there too. So kudos to them.
Any other surprises in terms of releases and retention, lads? I mean, I spoke to Shub when I went to his house earlier to play PlayStation with him, and he was just like, I'm surprised that they've hung on to Natarajan. But then I heard on ESPN that Munaf has been heavily working with Natarajan, who didn't play a single game last year. Similarly, across franchises, so going into that auction as well, I mean, you mentioned about KKR and the bank that they have. You look at the other teams in there, and everyone, I think, just wants one or two good players to just finish their 11s. Do you think that could be a theme going into the auction? Because even you look at RCB, I'm guessing from our fan point of view, we just want to back up for Hazelwood and potentially, yes, they are. Everything else, I think, is still relatively okay, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I think as far as the teams are concerned, the four teams that made it to the playoffs, I think their first 11 is already set. I don't see any of them needing a player desperately. All the proper slots are, I mean, the first 12 is ready to play the competition, even if it's next week. But barring them, all the six teams that have at least one gaping sort of weakness in their starting 11s, and that is where the auction is going to be very interesting. Uh, there are see apart from Green, there is of course Venkatesh Iyer, and a lot of teams would want him. So it's not going to be very easy for KKR to just buy him back, even though they have a lot of money. And Indian spinners, Chennai would be looking for one. So I mean, Abhi, at this point of time, looking at their price, like looking at the purse, we can expect that Chennai, if they want to bid for Bishnoi, I don't think anyone can outbid them. So it's going to be a good thing for Bishnoi as well, because he needs he needed a different team to sort of give a second wing to his career. But other than that, I mean, I've been maintaining this stance for a while. Okay, this is looking like a very dull auction. Mumbai have less than 3 crores in their purse. I mean, they might as well not turn up in the auction.
No, but I mean, Mumbai is just a different story altogether. You mentioned Bishnoi there, and again, tongue in cheek with some of the guys playing cricket in the morning. They think that he might go to RR, Bishnoi, because he plays for that state. And everyone's just telling me that Maxwell might end up going to CSK. I mean, I heard this again on various shows, and it's well documented already with Stephen Fleming and Glenn Maxwell and their Melbourne Stars sort of relationship, Akshay. But again, give me now, guys, potential destinations for all the big chat around certain players. Green, Russell, Maxi, Bishnoi. Who's going to be the richest Indian and foreigner? Akshay, I'll let you kind of give me some names right now, just to tickle the audience watching this as well, and what you're thinking. And do you have any ready replacements at RCB for Liam Livingston and all of that? Because you still wanted one Venki Iyer at that price tag. Do you still want him at that price tag at RCB?
Again, like, just I love how Avnish just throws me under the bus, just ऐसे ही धक्का मार के खुद ही बस पे चढ़ के चला भी देता है वैसे ही. Once again, I don't think Venkatesh Iyer, the player, has regressed or anything. He's still of immense value to a side that wants to use him well, and he will definitely also be on several teams' radar, if not one. Chennai apparently is also a side that's looking at Venkatesh Iyer. At least that's what Nagraj Golapudi had to say. And I just don't know where is the slot, but apparently, yeah, the management has made it clear that they're looking for Venkatesh. I was like, कहाँ जगह कहाँ है भाई?
क्या खिलाओगे भाई? ऑलरेडी तुम सैमसन भी ले आए हो,
No, but
पिछले साल के लिए.
which team, guys, do you think he fits the best right now? Just closing your eyes and telling me that.
SRH.
SRH was actually one of the sites I also have in mind because they do have a hole there. I don't know if they want to use it for an overseas player or do they go to Venki Iyer.
They don't
KKR,
have a by overseas slot है क्या? ऐसा SRH are filled with the first choice overseas players ना.
तीन
So
है
how
उनके
many left
पास, Cummins,
are
क्यों?
guys?
Klassen and Head.
नहीं तो they were playing एहसान मलिंगा last year.
वो अभी यूज करेंगे कि नहीं वो अपने
क्योंकि
को
उनके
भी.
पास इंडियन पेसर भी ऐसा कुछ है नहीं.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
is why they will be on the lookout for pacers as well. So I don't know how do they look at it. KKR themselves will definitely, once again, make
Of
no
course,
mistake.
that
Yeah.
I mean that is by default.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Venki Iyer's most likely destination is going to be KKR. I'd be very surprised if that doesn't happen because even if SRH wants to bid for him, SRH do not unfortunately have the purse to go after him. They have about 25.5 crores left and they've got only one spinner in Zishan Ansari. Sure, we can talk about Harsh Dubey, great potential and everything, but he's still technically unproven. He's yet to play enough in IPL. Like Zishan Ansari at least got 8-10 games. We still know that, you know what, potential, and I did like what I'd seen of him for the Meerut, I want to say Mavericks, jo bhi hai the Meerut franchise at the UP T20 league. So that's there, but they don't have a lot of spinners, so they will definitely be looking for Ravi Bishnoi as well. So they can't shell a lot for Venki Iyer. And given that they already have a star-studded batting lineup, they would want to now strengthen their bowling. So I don't think they are going to be interested in spending more money on another batter in Venki Iyer.
Akshay, you mentioned Bishnoi and Venki Iyer there in that sentence. Do you think one of those two names will be the highest Indian earning at this auction?
Bishnoi maybe not so much, but he'll definitely be there in the top three, top five for sure. Venki Iyer, I think, will be the most expensive Indian player. I can't think of too many other big Indian names per se. There is another name I'll talk about him when we talk about RCB as well, since you asked me about Liam Livingston's replacement. But
I
it'll be.
know you might suggest. This is the guy you interviewed for Unwind.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
You're on, you're on. The guy who looks like so basically right now.
We can give out the name. It's Abhinav Manohar. Like, are we confusing our viewers by giving these random names?
Every bald man with a goatee looks like me. See, so
Bold and beautiful. So you mentioned Green, Maxwell, Russell. Tell me about the foreigners you think can actually go massive. Do you think Green's the obvious winner there? Because Green, bro, it's not like he's peak Watson from RR. Russell's still a better bowler than him. Mitch Marsh, to be honest, is a better batter than him. So what is this whole talk about Green being the captivating eye?
see, ek to he's still young. So if you lock him and if he's fit and he wants to play the IPL, then you have a decade-long player. Simple as that. And second thing, by long levers, good reach. So you can use him in multiple roles. He can be good player of spin. Of course, he's an Aussie. He'll be a good player of pace and फील्डिंग अच्छी करेगा, बाउंड्री पे लगा लो, bowling कर ही लेता है. So you, I mean, it's it's slightly hard to say that he can't be a peak Watson. He can be. I mean, he can be a better batter than Watson, if not as good a bowler.
I
Do you
mean,
think
just
that
to add a few numbers to that, if I'm not wrong, Cameron Green was the only one in the history of the IPL, or he's one of just two or three players to have actually scored more than 400 runs and taken 10 plus wickets in a single season. In both the seasons that he played for MI and RCB, he actually went on to have an excellent time. It's not like he's had an off season or something. So he's already, in some sense, a proven customer at this level. So it's not like we don't know how he's going to be in these conditions. So he is someone that teams can rely upon. But of course, there's a huge question mark over his fitness, over the fact that whether he'll participate as just a batter, or will he be an all-rounder, will he offer bowling value as well, because make no mistake, there's the Ashes and then there's the T20 World Cup in Feb, just 2 weeks before the IPL begins. So that's a lot of workload we're looking at. So it's going to be a very tricky call, but yeah, let's see.
Green, every time I think about him in the IPL, obviously that 100 that he scored for Mumbai, but every time I think about him in an RCB shirt, and Akshar back me up here, is that run out of, I think, Akshar at the other end in that Delhi game, where I
Tristan
think he
Stubbs
just
was run out. Akshar was running to the other, and he runs Tristan Stubbs out. Yeah.
correct. I mean, it was brilliant. So, potential destination then. So, I'm going back to your point, and the points that you were mentioning about Green. Is it Chepauk or is it, again, Eden Gardens? Because, again,
Green for me is
speculation.
a done deal. I mean, I don't see if KKR want him, I don't see how anyone can outbid them for Green.
If
But
KKR
I
don't
think
want him, तो
KKR,
फिर वो 60 करोड़ के साथ तेल लेने तो नहीं जा रहे भाई अबू धाबी.
हाँ, वो तो है ही. And KKR can also no, might as well open with him because they have the opening role khali. So Green at the top of the order, you're just maximizing him. I would also be interested in Ben Duckett. I am very surprised that he's not a proper active IPL player, but I think that that will change very soon, and this might be the season when it changes because there are two teams, KKR and DC, who really need a good proper opener. They don't really have. I mean, अभी मैं फर्स्ट 11 बनाऊंगा तो KKR openers are probably Rahane and Narayan, and DC openers and Porel and Karun Nair. So both teams need a massive uplift when it comes to the opener slot. So I'm looking forward to how Duckett goes. I think teams would be interested in Cooper Connolly as well, a lefty Australian who can bowl, spinner hai. So I think he would be of some value. Let's see.
You mentioned KKR, then there were openers, and Rahane obviously pops up the question of whether he'd continue as captain. Do you think they'll go into the auction, try to look at and buy a captain out there? Is there a captain that they can buy?
Can't think of any obvious names. Just to add to what Somesh mentioned about Duckett, for what it's worth, Delhi Capitals did approach him last year, to replace Fraser Megag when he refused to come back after the war broke out, but Duckett refused. So he was also a part of the mega auction, which means he's still eligible, so he can still be a part of the mini auction. So we could potentially see him being bought back. And whatever Somesh said for Duckett, I would just copy paste and say the same for Johnny Bairstow as well. There was no reason why he went unsold last year. There was no reason why someone like a Quinton de Kock played above him. We saw what he did in the couple of games he got for Mumbai Indians as well. Had to be released, unfortunately, because he was, signed post the break. I hope he also finds a home, and Delhi Capitals, like Somesh said, I think will be on the lookout for someone like that, because I think KL will now be opening with especially the Nitish Rana trade that opens up the middle order slot, so KL does not have to bat in the middle order. Should it be KL and Purell, or do they now bring in someone like a Bairstow or a Duckett and pair him with KL, which I think would be a better option, because they don't have too many overseas options right now. It's just Stubbs and Stark who are sure shot starters. So they've got two overseas slots, might as well make use of it. And
Imagine they get
sorry?
imagine they get Will Jacks.
They could, but they'll also need a keeper, because Purell is the only keeping option, so they would prefer a keeper opener given a choice. So if they go for a Will Jackson, they'll need a keeper opener, or I mean a keeper in the middle order. Jamie Smith, by the way, will be another name who I think would be in some demand. Was more than decent in the 100. We saw what he's done for England in Test cricket as well. He's done well against India, and that's something that IPL teams usually rate a lot more highly. So that's also something we can watch out for. And going back to what you said, Avnish, no captaincy candidates. One name that I think KKR should look at, and I don't mind him being made captain, is Mayank Agarwal. I don't think he was too bad. Probably tactically not the greatest, but I think he's a great leader. And with KKR, given that they've got those opening slots vacant, and given that Mayank was actually not too bad for RCB, I was a tad bit surprised that RCB let go of him at that price. They could have very well just retained him. But I'm guessing it was also because he was not going to get a lot of game time. So Mayank himself might have requested them to let go of him. So KKR, I think, should go out for Mayank, bring him in for whatever 2, 3, 4 crores, potentially make him a leader, make him a captain, and have him open along with someone else. Duckett ho sakta hai, Green ho sakta hai, whoever it is. I think that would be a more than decent place for him as well. Like for all of Mayank's weaknesses, I think KKR and Eden Gardens would be a great venue. Batter friendly surface, true pace and bounce. He can just attack pacers. Not a lot of side spin, which means those googlies and all wouldn't hurt him, wouldn't harm him. So I think that the conditions also would go in his favor.
Okay, interesting. If Mayank does get a shout there, just gonna shout out some names, guys, in terms of foreign cricketers who could probably get some money. I'll start off with you, Som. Patirana, another big release from CSK. Will he yield the dividends? Surely he'll be the pick of the mix in terms of the Sri Lankans. But in the grander scheme of things, do you think he'll be the most expensive pacer in this year's auction?
I mean, I cannot be certain about being most expensive, but yeah, he will have a lot of teams bidding for him. KKR obviously come to mind. I mean, अभी तो they have 12 players in the team as of now, so they need at
सारे
least
नाम
six
के लिए हम
players.
केकेआर डाल के बैठ सकते हैं.
हाँ, क्योंकि वो मतलब they don't have a squad at this point of time. So definitely they are gonna bid. SRH might go for him because they don't really have a lot of good bowlers in their team. So he's a handy death over bowler. I mean, more than handy actually. CSK probably released him for the price point. They'll definitely bid for him in a hope of getting him back for at a cheaper value. Let's see. But SRH have Ehsan Malinga, who's pretty much like Patirana himself. So bids to आएंगे most expensive pacer. See, there is Madhwal, there is Akashdeep, Simarjeet bhi Simar. Obviously, I'm not saying that these guys gonna warrant this bigger price, but there are decent Indian pacers as well in the auction pool this time around.
Yeah, even in the foreign department, Akshay, I'm just trying to look at backups for Hazelwood, like from an RCB fan perspective. It was going through some of the names, and I don't know if any of them is going to tickle your pickle, but I'll give it a go anyway. Josh Tongue, I don't know, for a maybe 1 crore bargain. I was very disappointed that we let go of Ngidi because he's just 1 crore, and I think he brings a lot to the table. Fans might disagree watching this. Someone like Riley Meredith, we've had Reece Topley before. Are these kind of names interesting you? Jacob Duffy, Willow Rook?
Duffy was again like Duffy. He's been having a great time with the Kiwis, but once again they're very raw and unproven. One player that I've been speaking, or been heaping praises on is Naveen Ulak. I think he will be back in the IPL. He should be there. He's shown that he's got the quality. Mustafizur Rahman will definitely be back. I just don't understand why teams don't like. I still think it's a bit of that bias कि यार Afghani pacers या Bangla pacers might not be good enough as Aussies or the English ones. So I hope someone like Fizz, gets some more game time. Even for the few games that he got post the war for Delhi, wasn't too bad at all. Naveen Ulak hasn't been too bad at all for the Lucknow Super Giants whenever he got those chances. A great option to have, has those cutters, can bowl with the new ball, can bowl at the death, has a very sharp bouncer, not too bad. With Pati Rana, again, just going back to him, KKR, I think, will be coming in with three names that they want for sure. Cameron Green, Venki Iyer, and Patirana. Even if they allocate 20 crores, I don't think they would mind that because these three names will be short starters for them and solve very sort of big problems that they have. And there aren't too many other solutions. So to say, I don't think we have any other, X factor death overs bowler, specialist bowler, like Patirana at the auction. And if Patirana comes in, that gives them great face coverage because Harshit is someone who can bowl, he is the only all face bowler that they have. So Harshit can bowl across faces. Weber is a new ball specialist. That means you can now unlock Matisha Patirana and use him the way CSK used him, start him only from the 11th, 12th, 13th over. Then you've got Sunil Narayan, you've got Varun Chakravarti, two excellent defensive spinners. So Patira, and then you've got Green. In the right conditions, just those hit the deck abilities that he brings to the table would be a great option to have. So I think these three names, Venki Iyer, Cameron Green, and Matisha Patina would be very high on top of their list. I'd be very surprised if each of these three names do not go to them. But of course, CSK will be coming in with 40 odd crores, and apparently they would be interested in Venki Iyer, so we don't know. But yeah, so overseas pacers, I think Matisha Patirana in all likelihood would be the most expensive buy because that's also because there aren't too many other options who have proven themselves at this level. But Andre Russell, for what it's worth, I mean, he's an all rounder, but he will definitely be someone who will command a price. And apparently, from what I understand, it was Russell who requested KKR to release him. It actually came from the player. It wasn't KKR who wanted to let go of him, and it happened very late as well. Like the call was taken very last minute, which means Russell has been approached by other teams. That was also something that was discussed, which means he will be in demand. CSK for one would love to have a Russell. So I was just making playing 11s. CSK needs someone at that number 6 position. They don't have pacers. I mean, they don't have bowlers in general. Russell, imagine this. Ayush Matre, Sanju Samson, Rutraj at 3, Deval Brevis at 4, Dubey at 5, Russell at 6, Dhoni at 7. Number 8 is still vacant. They'll need to figure someone out. Anshul Kamboj, Noor Ahmed, Nathan Ellis, and Khalil Ahmed as the impact player. I think that's a more than decent 11. वो number 8 वाले खाली gap में they'll need a spinner for sure. It could be Ravi Bishnoi. It could be someone else. So, yeah, I think Russell is definitely someone who will be high on top of their list.
I think
Interesting.
I can think of two other teams actually. Even SRH and LSG both might be interested in Russell.
LSG, yeah.
Russell.
LSG I also had for sure.
So yeah,
I was
Russell
thinking,
definitely. One very interesting name. I mean, we will discuss more in when we do the auction show. But I actually am looking forward to see if people or teams would be interested in Pathum Nisanka because
hmm,
lately he has been he's developed into a very good player. And I was just looking at some of his numbers. His overall T20 strike rate is 128, which doesn't look good that good. But since 2024, he has been striking at 150. So he has upped that skill of his, and he's a very complete package. And I mean, teams looking for an opener might not be a very bad shout.
yeah, it's a good left field name there. I mean, some of the other channels were mentioning, again, exploits from the 100 and some Jordan Cox. Three predictions, guys, that you want to see come true in the auction in the UAE next month. So I'll start with you. Again, you can start with the biggies or left field choices are welcome as well.
Yeah, Green to KKR is the obvious one. I think Maxwell to CSK is something that I see happening because CSK don't have a finger spinner. I mean, I don't see one. Maybe it's just me, but yeah. So they need one. Uh, Venki Iyer goes back to KKR, but Russell up for grabs. So Russell goes to okay. Russell also goes to CSK.
Wow, interesting. Okay,
Russell and
Akshay, I don't know if you can top that. I think I have a sneaky feeling Russell will go to CSK. Max will go to LSG. I think Langer and Moody there will double down and have Maxi. And then it'll just be a power pack batting unit with Pooran, Pant, Maxi, fireworks, and all of that Dekana. And then my sentimental pick would probably be getting. Man, I want a really good replacement for Hazelwood because I just have a feeling that he wouldn't play as many games that he did for us this year. So I think I would go left field, Will O'Rourke, if he's not been released by LSG. But I think he'd be damn good.
And for what it's worth, RCB ke against when Milo played, he conceded 75 runs in 4 overs. So
Oh,
just putting it out there. So probably not the kind of pace RCB needs, but fair. He is still he did have a couple of good outings as well. Russell, interesting shout. I think Lucknow would love to have Russell or Maxwell. Like between CSK and Lucknow, I think one will get Maxwell and the other will get Russell. I'd be very surprised if only one team gets both. Although CSK does have the purse to get both, but they also need a spinner. The reason why I think it'll be Maxwell to CSK and Maxwell to Lucknow and Russell to CSK is Lucknow have four pacers, man. And if you add the likes of Mohsin Khan and Mayank Yadav, they've got a plethora of pacers. They've got Avesh Khan, Mohammad Shami, Mayank Yadav, Mohsin Khan, and I'm pretty sure I'm forgetting a fifth one. Akash Singh, if I'm not wrong, has also been retained by them. Let me just confirm that. Yeah, Akash Singh has also been retained by them. Add to that
Prince
the all-round abilities of someone like an Arshan Kulkarni. So they've got plenty of
But
pacers.
all of them are most injury-prone Indian pacers right now in the market.
Agreed, but Avesh and Shami, I still think you can expect them to have, to be available for the entirety of the season. And Mayank Yadav is expected to be bowling 85% by Feb, so he is in all likelihood going to be available. Mohsin Khan is, again, they're still worth those punts.
And they have the find of the last season, right? Prince Yadav.
Oh, I thought you were going for both.
In terms of seamers, I mean, Prince Yadav was pretty good.
Agreed, exactly. I
I'm not,
forgot about
भाई
Prince.
sarcasm बिल्कुल नहीं था इसमें.
I
I
mean, to
completely
be
forgot about Prince, yeah.
the Bat Ball Better episodes we've recorded with Soap in the last 4 or 5 months, he's mentioned Prince Yadav quite a bit. He actually had him for a shout even the India-Australia white ball series, if I was not wrong.
For
भाई
what
मैं तो
it's
बोल रहा था कि उसको टेस्ट के लिए प्रिपेयर करो. रिवर्स स्विंग वगैरह सब हो रहा है उसका.
I mean, for what
So,
it's worth, MNL last September wala jaake, if anyone wants to watch, I had spoken about Prince Yadav, Anirudh Chaudhary, and Ankit Kumar. I'm sad that the other two haven't been picked. People keep talking about Priyan Sharia. Please go have a look at Ankit Kumar. And scouts, if you're watching, please give me a gig. I don't mind that. But Ankit Kumar is, I'm shocked that the guy still hasn't unfortunately made it to the IPL. Gun left hand opening batter. He's of short stature. Excellent stance, excellent technique. He's great against hard lanes. He steps down the track. He's got quick feet against spin. So he's another name I wish some team goes for. But,
Actually, no, I was just going to ask you because you have so many subs in the IPL, not obviously exactly, but the guys who you bid for, so I can recollect people like Shafin Rutherford who you batted for throughout, right? He's now been released by GT. Would you like them to see back? Abhinav Manohar is a name that you were probably interested in. Smaran has been retained by SRH, and I don't know how they're going to be using him. So, do you feel like you have a wishful thinking list in terms of any teams out there?
there's one more Akshay's favorite player, Manoj
Jadpreet
Bhandke.
Subramanian
नहीं नहीं
or Manoj.
भांडगे को मैंने रेट नहीं किया है भाई भांडगे को मैंने हमेशा बोला है कि ही इज आई मीन ही इज गुड फॉर महाराजा T20 ट्रॉफी वो लेवल
Manwant Kumar
Manwant Kumar, I
been
believe.
released.
Yeah, been released. Bit surprised there. But watch out for another name, Mangesh Yadav. Left arm pacer, all rounder. Apparently, RCB is interested in him. Had a great season for. I'm forgetting which side did he play for at the MPT20 league. Importantly, he played under Rajat Patidar, was the player of the tournament there. He's an all-rounder, left-arm pacer, excellent yorker. He was clocking decent pace. I don't trust the speedometers there, so I don't want to say in excess of 140 just because I saw
They
that.
are replacement loading.
Exactly, exactly. And apparently he's already been a part of the RCB scouting setup. So I hope he's someone we see. We've had the likes of Ranjan Kumar in the past, Avinash Singh Manhas comes to mind. So we've had those pacers, but not too many who've actually gone ahead and done well at the IPL level. So I hope Mangesh Yadav, becomes that pacer for us. Talking about international players, Rutherford has been traded to MI. Great. I think that was a great piece of recruitment from them. Solves a lot of problems should they decide to use him in that lower middle order because Hardik Pandya's finishing abilities have been on the wane. We've spoken about this in the past too. And yeah, coming to overseas picks, Russell, I think, goes to CSK. Maxwell will go to Lucknow simply because Lucknow needs a lot more spinners. They have just Digvesh Singh Rathi right now, so Maxwell will be a great option, especially at Ekana. I know last year wasn't the usual Ekana, but I still think he's got enough over there. And like Somesh said, or rather like Avnish said, having Pant at 3, Badoni at 4, Pooran at 5, and Maxwell at 6, or Maxwell at 5 and Pooran at 6, that's genuinely a very good middle order, especially if Markram and Marsh sort of replicate what they did last year, which in itself was a bit of an outlier. I hope that they look past Markram and open with Pant and Marsh because I am not expecting Marsh Markram to have the same season this year. But I'd be great. I mean, it would be great to see them proving us wrong. I hope Ravi Bishnoi goes to RR. I really think RR has undone a lot of those mess ups they did. It's been some very smart piece of recruitment. By the way, I don't think enough has been spoken about the fact that Ravindra Jadeja has negotiated. I mean, he had his price negotiated down. Ravindra Jadeja had been retained by CSK for 18 crores. He's been traded to RR for 14 crores. It's happened for the first time in the history of the tournament that someone's price has gone down. So, to put it simply, for the price of Sanju Samson, RR has managed to get in Sam Curran, Ravindra Jadeja, and Donovan Ferreira and add 60 lakhs to their purse. I think that's not too bad recruitment, considering the fact that had they released Samson into the open market, they wouldn't have had these many options for the same price. And I mean, we spoke about this offline. I wanted to retort over here. Somesh had mentioned that he still doesn't think this RR side is there. They don't have too many proven options outside Parag and Jaiswal. So just to add to it, I still think Sandeep Sharma is as proven as any other domestic option, to be honest. Joffrey Archer has been an MVP in the past. I expect him to be good. Even last year, barring the first game, his numbers
5 years ago.
5 years
5
ago
years
in
ago.
2020, yeah. Last year, barring the first game, he was actually very good and he was a lot better than numbers indicated. If I remember correctly, he was the most unluckiest pacer in terms of false shots in due.
No, they're playing Arch only for their prize, Akshay. Let's be fair.
Are you kidding me?
He's
This, like I said,
a,
watch his bowling last year.
he's
I
a,
really think he bowled well. I really think he bowled well. And if they get a couple of really smart buys, Liam Livingston is a name that I want to see at RR. Ravi Bishnu is a name I want to see at RR. If they get them both, I think RR this side will be looking a lot better because
Yeah,
by
I
this,
mean, even then, I mean, you're talking about a player who's never had a good IPL season.
who are you referring to here? Because
Liam
both
Livingston. So, I mean, you can't
no,
solve with a player who doesn't have a proven track record of performing at in a league,
Livingston
right?
has had one good season, but in his defense, once again, that was the only time where he got an extended run. 2022 Punjab, if I remember correctly, in excess of 400 runs at a strike rate of 160, averaging in excess of 30. He's had that, he's done that, and I think very underrated pace hitter. Was genuinely surprised that RCB let go of him, but I also understand they did not want to be like Mumbai Indians and just sit down. That's what Mo Bobat also spoke about. They wanted a bit of money so that they can try and improve their squad. So understandable. And Romario Shepherd, I think, has done enough to sort of give them that confidence that you know what he can be a starter for them next year. And another thing to add, because आपने जो कहा valid points, but that by that same logic, I think we can also say CSK has only three proven performers in Dubey,
We
Samson,
can.
and
See,
Gaikwad.
this is where I feel that four teams that qualified last season, there was a gulf between them and the rest six. A gulf like I've never seen in any other IPL season. I mean, it was very difficult for me to actually think of a season where there was clear difference between top four and the bottom six sides. And even if you look at the teams that are shaping up, and this is the exact point I started this discussion with, that even right now, even if there is no auction, their 11s are set. It's the other six teams who are trying to find out fillers among players who are released because they are underperforming players. So I mean, see, uh, देखो, of course, every IPL season you see some surprises कि भाई बहुत unexpected. 2025 everyone expected CSK to do well. कि भाई मतलब they have a very Chennai style team. They should do well at home. That didn't happen. Abhi, if IPL were to start tomorrow, the four teams that made it to the playoffs last time around seem like massive favorites. Of course, RR has done better than what they were when the last season happened, but I don't still see that this is a team that is, at least on paper, is good enough to go on and win the league. Is what I'm trying to say. They're still better. Maybe they can be middle of the table somewhere. And even if they, I mean, see, they've saved all that money to buy an Indian spinner because they don't really have anyone else apart from Jadeja right now. So even if they get Bishnoi or any other mystery spinner who's lurking around, maybe they get Vignesh Puturu. I don't
Shivam
know why
Shukla.
Mumbai have released him. So एक bowler, unless and until he turns up to be the next Narayan or Chakravarti or Digvesh Rathi, I don't think that player on him by himself would be good enough to win them three more games than they should win the entire season.
Just to add
no.
one name, since you mentioned Somesh, Shivam Shukla is a spinner just in the same mold as Sunil Narayan, Varun Chakravarti. He's a finger spinner who turns the ball both ways. Like Varun Chakravarti also relies a lot more on overspin than side spin. He's been one that a lot of people have been rightfully rating very highly. In fact, he was also signed by KKR as a replacement post the war broke out. So unfortunately, couldn't be retained. But watch out for him. And another name that I did want to mention was I was a tad bit surprised RR let go of Kumar Kartikeya as well. There was no reason they had to do that. Vignesh Puttur, correct? आपने कहा apparently Vignesh Puttur has a lot of injury concerns, so he won't be fit enough. Like these are some like long term injuries that we're talking about. So apparently that was the reason. Or else I do agree with you. 10 lakh का क्या ही मतलब it's not like you're going to save a lot. So fair.
Yeah, nuts and bolts of that RR team is there. Obviously, Jurel, Parag, Jaiswal, like these boys mentioned, they get Karan and Jadeja, and who are definite starters at that price point. So they have to just figure out the rest of them. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. Guys, lots of IPL chat. Rest assured, it will be on cricket.com. So catch us and subscribe, and of course, press that notification so you get all the updates. Let's just finish off by, of course, talking about the Ashes, guys, because November mornings and December mornings will hit different right now with regards to all the action. And there's some massive news going into that first test. So, I mean, how much is it an advantage England with Cummins and Hazelwood out? Do you think it's Bazball's best opportunity to go 1-0 up at Perth?
See, I think there are two things. I mean, before this series started, I mean, the series has still not started. I mean, before Hazelwood was out, for me, Australia was still marginally ahead. But with Hazelwood injury, it's anyone's game, especially the first test when he will not be there. Because who knows when Cummins is going to join, and who knows how long Hazelwood is going to be injured for. See, all I can say with some certainty, this time not absolute certainty, कि 5-0 4-0 तो नहीं होने वाला. England will win tests, so this series is going to be close. But it's basically going to be Australia's bowling versus England's batting. Because England, what they have going in favor of them is the consistency. If you look at their playing 11, it is a bunch of players who've played together for a while. They've not won anything so far. They've not won anything of significance so far. They've won a lot of tests here and there. But since 2022, when they started, everything was a culmination for this series. But now, when it's the time, who knows? I mean, all their efforts might pay off. On the other hand, Australia have just taken everything for granted. I mean, you look at their 11, I mean, they'll have an opener who will be debuting directly in the Ashes. When was the last time did we see Australia team doing it? They have a second opener who probably shouldn't have been in the side, but he's there because on the other end you'll have a debutant. You can't debut two openers at the same time. Marnus dropped coming back, although he had a very good Sheffield sheet. Smith is ultimately it's going to be a series where Australia are going to massively reliant on Smith. And if England can find a way around Smith, then it just makes England massive favorites. Because Nietzsche head, I mean, कितना जिताएगा वो? He's already won Australia a lot. And I don't think last 6-8 months he has been as great as he was before that. Before that, like he's used all his powers then. Kerry, थोड़ा मतलब again, I mean, he's not a Gilchrist. Australia would hope that he becomes the Brad Haddin of 2013, where no one expected Haddin to do it, but he somehow found the guts and courage to do it. Green, kitni bowling karayega? If he's not bowling, then do they need an additional, batting all rounder to manage the workload? And Lion Stark bowling with Cummins and Hazelwood, or with Cummins and Stark in the side is different. But Abhi Boland would have directly is like promoted to the second pacer, because again, एक pacer भी debutant है, so two debutant in an Ashes 11 for Australia. When did the last time this happen? So Australia have just taken it for granted, and if they falter this time around, I mean they have themselves to blame.
100%. Lots of points to take in there because you mentioned it at the top of that piece. Hazelwood just makes such a massive difference to any team that he plays for, more Australia than anyone else. Akshay, the recipe for success winning down under, I think it goes to show that if you have a good attack, especially one or two good bowlers, like we saw with Bumrah in the 2018 or the 2021 win, or we saw with South Africa when they won in the 2010s, if you have good bowlers, you can really win. And England had that in 2010 when they won. They had a variety attack in terms of Tremlett, Anderson, Bresnan. So can Wood and Archer not just stay fit and play 5 tests, but actually win the Ashes? Because that'll be the biggest ever thing in the Bazball era. This is the crescendo. It's all building up to this.
I think they can, and not least because of their own bowling abilities. It's just also down to the fact that the Aussie batting lineup is probably the most fragile that I've seen in a very long time. So that makes their job a lot more easier. So I'm interested in seeing how Wood and Archer fare, but importantly, I also want to see how does the England side go about managing their workload, because it's not going to be easy bowling down under, because what they will be clocking 40 to 50 overs each test match. So I'd be very surprised if both of them end up playing each of the five tests. It might potentially be one plays three, the other plays four, based on how they sort of rotate the game. I mean, which games they rest them for, and which games they don't. So that's where it does make me wonder in terms of their own batting lineup. It's also down to that, right? We often talk about bowling in isolation, but especially in test match cricket, it'll also be interesting to see how the rest of the bowling attack shapes up, right? Because you've got Ben Stokes, sure. Shoaib Bashir was someone who was scouted out specifically keeping this Ashes in mind. Make no mistake, last year when he made his debut against India, we all remember Rob Key and Ben Stokes talking about that high arm release, talking about the kind of bounce he generates. We're talking about Perth over here, so it'll be very interesting, what happens, because numbers have not unfortunately been his friend since then. He had a great series against India, but it's been a very interesting time for him post that. These conditions, I want to see how he goes about his business, because once again, the fragility of the Australian batting attack would potentially help him. And Josh Tongue versus Gus Atkinson, that's another thing that we'll have to look at. How is this England side looking at their pacers, because you've already got Mark Wood, Geoffrey Archer. I'm pretty sure Gus Atkinson, Josh Tongue both will play some part at some point in time, simply because of the conditions on offer. But how do they go about it? That'll also be very interesting to see. Baki, I haven't caught up much on the England Lions game that happened very recently. All I saw was Ben Stokes dismissing Jacob Bethel and being stunned by the fact that Bethel got out such a rank bad delivery. So I don't want to see a bit more of it. I want to see how that batting lineup shapes up. They've included someone like a Will Jacks. Does Bethel feature consistently for them, or is he going to be more of a backup choice? So you've got Duckett, you've got Crawley, you've got Ollie Pope, Joe Root, of course, and then there's Ben Stokes at number six-ish. I want to see, how is this going to be over here? And this is the first time I'm assuming baseball is going to be in Australia, right? Since the term was coined, the last time 22 was, of course, we all remember, null and void. So, maza aega, maza to aega. I'll need a bit more time just to get used to this England side in these conditions, but yeah, it'll be very interesting.
You will. So you second guess Australia's 11. Can you second guess England's 11? Any surprise changes for you there?
The only surprise is whether Wood is fit or not. Because if Wood is fit, I think the three pacers would be Archer, Wood, and Atkinson. Atkinson for me is a short starter. So that is one. And the second thing is, are they going to play Bashir or not? So if Bashir doesn't play, then they play both Pope and Bethel. Because currently I feel they'll start with Pope. But if I don't think Bashir played. See, he didn't play the tour game when the game itself was between the two England teams. उसमें भी बशीर नहीं खेला. And it's not like he's played in Australia before, right? So everything points out him not playing at least the first test. So I won't be surprised. So I think it's going to be pretty straightforward England team with Crawley, Duckett opening, and then you'll have Pope, Root, Brook, Stokes, Smith, and then Bethel will have to bat at 8 because he's playing as a spinner. Archer 9, Wood 10, Wood slash Cars, whoever is, if Wood is fit, otherwise Cars will play, and Atkinson, but Atkinson will play bat at 9 and not at 11.
Yeah.
So England bat deep, dude. I mean, see, the only contention here is the fitness of England's primary pacers. So if Archer and Wood are fit, then England have a very good chance if both of them are fit. Because Atkinson, I feel is a good. I mean, he's going to have a decent series. Cars, I'm not too sure.
But just to play devil's advocate here, like even in this lineup, Bethel and Root as your spinners means your pacers will have to do bulk of the bowling there, and that's where, right, like if they're going to clock in more overs, it's just going to make it that much more difficult for them to recover. Like that's why I wonder someone like a Bashir, if he's
So
included.
this is where, see, they have four. They're four pacers, and they'll have Stokes to bowl as well. They should see if the lessons are learned from the India series. Stokes shouldn't be over bowling himself to the point that he's not available for any of the tests. Because if Stokes is not around, the England team will be uninspired, because this team is his team. So he
Yeah.
has to play all the five tests, even at the cost of him under bowling himself. So they need to plan workload better, and this is where they can rotate Bashir as well. Probably because based on what we saw in the Perth test last year, I mean, this can be a short test, and after that, Bashir will still have a role to play when they go down to MCG in Sydney, because they'll have like three quick tests.
Yeah.
The thing with Bashir is, guys, every time we keep talking about him in baseball, we've seen it in India. He gets the tough task of bowling in the first innings, and it's going to be even harder in Australia because Stokes is not going to be the captain to ever going to be batting first. He's always going to be bowling first. We've seen that with baseball. They like to chase 370, 400 odds. So I think that straight away rules him out. Whether he can end up like Lion, I didn't see it coming. I don't think Root or Bethel can do that either. So it comes down to what I asked Akshay in terms of the pace
Uh,
battery firming themselves up,
yeah,
holding.
but one advantage, I mean, looking at this Australian team, apart from Head, no one is going to take on Bashir, so he can settle himself in.
Wait till
Yeah.
Weatherall debut के दिन 200 मार के चले जाए.
अब होने को तो कुछ भी हो सकता है. सी अभी भी डिस्पाइट ऑल ऑफ दिस, बिकॉज इंग्लैंड का ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड इन ऑस्ट्रेलिया हैज बीन सो पुअर दैट अगर हेजलवुड होता तो आई वुड हैव स्टिल पिक्ड ऑस्ट्रेलिया टू नो विन दिस टेस्ट. बट बिकॉज अब हेजलवुड भी नहीं है, कमिंस भी नहीं है, बैटिंग लाइनअप भी कुछ नहीं है, सो आई मीन इंग्लैंड इज इन विद अ मैसिव चांस.
But one name that we haven't discussed so far, I really think Michael Neser. He's been brought in as Hazelwood's replacement, right?
Okay.
Right now. Yeah, and if he is going to play, I think he's one of those players, who puts his body on the line, bats, bowls his heart out. वो है, I'm expecting good things for him and from him. It's also one of those things. He's one of those very likable players, Just I hope he's a nice bloke. So yeah.
Okay, let's just end this chat with two things: allegiances and predictions. Because normally when we talk about England cricket and its team, Somesh doesn't like them very much. I don't know whether it's the experts or the guys on Twitter who run.
Avnish, you should be a bus driver at this point in time.
I mean, honestly, knowing Som for the longest time I know him, he doesn't like English cricket. It's true.
ऐसा 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 कुछ नहीं है.
So insert Paresh Rawal from Ready. ये मैंने कब बोला?
See,
Haven't you
see
on this
anyone.
debate?
I mean, anyone who gets too cocky. I mean, they put themselves in a natural position where you don't like them. But as long as they're realistic, I mean, it's a good team, and it's a very. I mean, see, they have made Test cricket watchable again. I would give this to them, and if it culminates into them winning the Ashes, then it's good for Test cricket. I mean, you want Australia to be challenged in their backyard, yeah. I mean, it ends up producing a very very good Test series, and who else than us Indians to know that the best moments are when you win in Australia.
You agree, Akshay? You think it
I
can
do.
be done?
I do agree.
And you're backing England, or you're backing Australia?
I'm backing England simply because I'm also underdog FC. मेरे को देखना है कुछ नया, मजा आता है उसमें, and it's just great fun to sort of rile the bullies up. We've seen that happen to India now in their own conditions for the last year, so it'll be fun to see some of
Fair
it.
to say,
My Ashes thumb rule has always been back the away team. When Australia is
exactly.
playing
So
her,
I'm
I'm
just going to
like,
ask you that.
yeah.
Has that always been like that for you? Because even if you look at 2000 or 2010 or 2020, it's pretty much like that, right? So
See, that is that. I mean, the Ashes where the away team wins are the most exciting, right?
Yeah, I completely
agreed.
agree there. And one thing that's also going in England's favor is something that Somesh also mentioned earlier. The first three tests.
Sorry, let's go with the 2005 one because the home team
Yeah.
won it. That's most
See,
entertaining.
actually, tab England were underdog. Actually, forget about the Ashes. Test cricket itself, when the away team are doing well, is when the sport itself is at its
Agreed.
best. But
Agreed.
away team doesn't. I mean, of course, the dust bowls where the game ends in under 3 days doesn't count. Then it goes down to the wire of all, like, 4 days, 5 days. Then probably we should count that.
Completely
Yeah,
agree there.
so Akshay, give me a prediction
Yeah.
quickly.
One thing that's actually going in England's favor, and something that Somesh also mentioned earlier, the fact that the first three tests happen over a month's time. Like the third test ends on the 20th of December, 21st is when the first test begins, which means there's plenty of time for Stokes and Co to recuperate. It's only the last two tests that happen in quick succession. So you've got enough time to sort of, it's not like the India series from last year where the make or break situations happen in the beginning. So you've got enough time. You can ensure that your bowlers, sort of work themselves into the series and everything. So I hope that they use that to their advantage. And of course, like I said earlier, I will be rooting for the Poms. So it'll be fun to watch them do some fun things over there and with baseball and everything. So yeah, maza to aega.
And actually think of it, India almost squared up the series last time around, having underperformed massively and were essentially a one-man team. And
Agreed.
Australia had Cummins be Hazelwood, I think missed a few tests, but at least Cummins was there. तो उसके बाद भी इंडिया वर fought. So England would be like कि भाई they can draw a lot of lessons from there.
India, I feel
Agreed.
a recurring theme with India is जो भी करता है, it's despite the system and not because of it. So
Of course.
that's how it's always going to be. You can't do anything about it.
I mean that's true for anything in India, right? It's not just cricket.
Shall we go into that direction also, Somesh? Better
We're opening another can of worms. But I mean, yeah, let's see how the Ashes unfolds. I feel that Perth test is going to be super important because Gabba is the second test and the pink ball test. I just hope it'll be 1-1 going into the third test, and then all hell breaks loose. I mean, there will be jibes, there will be sledges, which will definitely kind of clip up and reels for Insta for sure. And Akshay has been in England and UK, what, 6 months this year? So he has to spot the bombs going into the Ashes. Let's see how it all unfolds. On that note, thank you so much, gents, for another cracking episode of Bat Ball Meta. More to come, like we keep saying on cricket.com. So subscribe, stay tuned, and follow us on social media where there's plenty of things that you might tuck into, which is snack worthy. Until the next time, it's a goodbye from three of us. We'll see you soon.